Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today's video I'm working on this vintage Craftsman Chainsaw. And if you watched my last video with the Pioneer P25, I mentioned this in that video. This is a pretty vintage saw. Here's the model number. It's a Craftsman, like I said. I think there's like a 16-inch bar on it. I had it apart just for a minute or two, and I knew right away inside this blue rag here is the fuel filter, and the fuel line's completely corroded. And what I really want to emphasize in this video is how they run the fuel line. Never seen anything like it, where the fuel line underneath this cover comes out of the carburetor and runs through this handle and then down through the back side here, through that little weep hole. And it would have been so easy to do the fuel line repair, but yet it doesn't go straight down into the fuel tank. It kind of kicks back in. And it would have made, like I said, it would have been a whole lot easier. Shoot that line straight down through the tank, attached to the fuel filter, and that would have been that. But it's really not that hard, because all we got to do is back this nut off and take the cover off, and then we're right in business. The hole is, well, it's kind of hard to see without the lighting, but it's right there. So we're going to fix that, hopefully get this running. One thing I want to mention, in that last clip, now you got to remember, when I get stuff, it's not always put back together correctly or has all the parts. So if you look back here, there may have been a bolt and a nut here connecting this. So if you have this saw and you're taking it apart, and you're like, well, neighborhood go-to guy, all you did was take that off and it won't pull apart. Well, look back here. There could be a bolt and a nut that's still holding that on, so keep an eye out for that. Now I went ahead and loosen these up so I can do it with one hand while still filming. I didn't do it enough, did I? So we're going to back that flathead out just a little bit more, and that cover will come off. And I just love that the carburetor sits on top like that. It's so easy to get to, and if you needed to take this apart, again, it's right there. It's not hard. You don't have to take a whole lot of things apart to get to it. Now the fuel line, which has corroded on this side, comes out over here and then runs underneath through a hole back here, and then up through here, and then runs along down through here, and then down through the back, and that'll need pushed out through this little tip and then down and around into the fuel tank itself. Now, to get this cover off, we're going to have to pull out that last screw here, and then the 3 Phillips head screws in here, and then we'll be able to get this entire cover off, because there's just not enough clearance, and it'll just make things a lot simpler. Quick insert here. I had to close the choke a little bit to get my screwdriver down in here. So just remember, when you put it back together, to open that up so that this cover, if it's pushed this way, it's in the choke, and then that'll be closed up like that. That way, this here lines up with that notch right here, and then it'll work properly. If not, then the choke won't work. Now with those 3 bolts loosened, and the one back here, we can gently lift this up, and that'll all pop right out. And like I said, the reason I did that is because it's going to make putting the fuel line in here a whole lot easier, because there's a lot more clearance now. Now when you're working on your saw and it's apart like this, it's a great time to clean around the fins, make sure there's no debris in there, and that'll keep the engine from overheating so it can breathe easier. Now, I've been asked in other videos, what diameter fuel line do you use, and I felt I should start including that when I do repairs like this. This is the 3/16, 3/32, and there's all the other numbers. So from here, we're going to run this into the carburetor, feed the other side down through this hole here. It's going to come up underneath, and it's got a little notch out here on the side to run it through here, and then attach it to this black tip, and that's going to run up from the bottom, and then this will sit down in there. It'll be nice and snug. And then on the other side, we'll connect on the bottom side of the tip, and we'll cut another piece that runs into the fuel tank with probably 4 or 5 inches left over, so that when we attach the fuel filter itself, it's laying flat on the bottom of the tank. One little tip I should mention is if you're having trouble getting the line to sit on the fitting, just use a little WD-40, or you could dip it in a little bit of fuel if you're worried about the WD-40, and that'll help lubricate it and slip it on, be easier to do. A little quick tip here also is at the end of the fuel line, I always like to cut it at a diagonal like this. And what that does is once that's cut off, it'll help you get it started inside the fuel tank hole. And then again, you can use a little WD-40 to help lubricate it to get it in easier. And then use some needle nose to grab the other end and then pull it through. Okay, so we got the line pulled through. We're going to leave probably 6-7 inches. We'll cut this flush off here, attach the fuel filter, drop that down into the tank, pull this side up through this little hole, and that's going to match up to the back of the handle here inside that little piece, and then we put it all back together. So here's a question that might arise, and I don't have a great answer, but I don't know why this barbed tip is in here, because I feel like you should be able to just run your fuel line the whole way down around the side and into the tank without having this in here. It just makes a little extra work. If someone has an answer, comment below and let us know. So the fuel line is attached the whole way through, run up through the bottom, underneath, and around into the carburetor. Go ahead and put our cover on here. And this cover, remember, if you have it in the choke position, like that, make sure that this lever is in the choke position here. And then set it on top. And then tighten all your bolts down. And do that, we'll put the side cover on. Okay, we're going to make sure our chain is on our clutch. And our guide pin is lined up with the hole on the bar. Well, you know how it goes, right? Put our side cover on, make sure everything matches up. Put that bar nut on. We're going to put some gas in it, see if it fires up. Okay, so here we go. Put some fuel in, choked it. It's in the start position. I don't know if it's going to start or not. I hope it does, but let's see. Start, choke. Ooh. Huh. I'm going to try that again, but it sounds like it's got an air leak somewhere because it's got a really high RPM. Sometimes that's an indicator of a air leak. We'll see if we can get this to start again. So you heard that running real loud. I'm going to mess with the carburetor a little bit. I adjusted it. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Hopefully it was helpful. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time from Neighborhood Go-To Guy.